I had a Monster Hunter problem. I tried so hard to get into the series since I was a kid. I tried Freedom Unite on the PSP, Tri Ultimate on the Wii U, Generations on the 3DS, and Monster Hunter Worlds and Rise multiple times. And every single time I played a Monster Hunter game, I'd dip into it for 5 hours and then fall off. So last year I did a video about how I want to get into the series by experiencing some classic Monster Hunter as well as trying out World and Rise to see if I can finally get into the series, and now I can finally admit that I am fully into this series and I cannot wait for Monster Hunter Wilds.
That's right.
We live together, we die together.
That's right.
Oh god! Oh my god.
Don't let up!
So let me take you back a couple of months. The Monster Hunter Wilds coverage was ramping up, there were loads of trailers showcasing the newest entry in the series, and they also put on a beta so everybody could try it out. And that's when I decided it was time to get into this series once and for all. I then took to the internet to plan out my best route, and all I knew is that I wanted to play at least one classic style and a modern style Monster Hunter game. I perused many threads with people saying that 4 Ultimate was a great point to jump in, same with Generations Ultimate on the Switch, and I was interested in getting into them, especially because of the portable factor. Monster Hunter is now a home console series, but it grew its popularity on handheld, so I thought it would be fitting to experience one of them. Now, while all those usual culprits were recommended, there was one that was recommended but slightly less so, and that was Freedom Unite, which was also the first Monster Hunter game I ever played. And back then, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I weighed up my options and I checked out the prices. 4 Ultimate was quite cheap, Generations on the Switch somehow held its retail value, and Freedom Unite was also extremely affordable on the PSP. Now, I had to think about playing a game on the PSP, which, you know, nowadays is a tiny, hand-crampy console. And then the gods descended from heaven and told me that Freedom Unite is only €10 on the PS Vita. So not only do I get to play it on a more comfortable console, but I also get to look at it on an OLED, and it's a win-win, so I went with that. I wanted a hardcore experience, and that's exactly what Freedom Unite gave to me. It doesn't hold your hand whatsoever. And after playing Rise and World, the tough as nails experience of Freedom Unite stands out way more. See, in this game, you start from zero, and even a little deer or a single baby raptor can wreck you in a couple of seconds. This has always been a hardcore series, and it's the reason why, up until World, the series never really took off or really reached them heights. I've been on a journey of playing retro games recently, and that's something you just have to get used to. Sometimes the frustration and the hardcore nature of a game stops you dead in your tracks and you put the game down, but with Freedom Unite, it was the total opposite. I loved preparing for hunts, learning where the monster sleeps, what traps to bring and how to properly fight them. Hunter is in the name of the series, and while I've never hunted in my life, they seem to have captured that experience pretty accurately with Freedom Unite. Things will be slow and you will be hunting the same monster for like 30 minutes, and since the game doesn't hold your hand, you will more than likely die a lot. The main takeaway from playing Freedom Unite is the distinct identity that Monster Hunter has. All of the great gaming series have distinct identities that run right through the core, regardless of what iteration you're on. Street Fighter brought in new characters and mechanics, but at its core, you have the same punches, kicks, and combos, and Monster Hunter is the same, regardless of which game you play. I've always struggled with the weapons in Monster Hunter. When I first played it, I went with a bow, and that was a bad idea because they're so hard to use. In World, I tried to use the Insect Glaive, and that is just a bit too complicated for a first-time player. In Freedom Unite, though, I experimented with different types of weapons and ended up on the longsword. It was faster than the hulking greatsword, which is just too much for me, and it feels a bit more involved and fun over the sword and shield. So then I started to learn the combos, and I read so much about how Monster Hunter is like a fighting game, and that's the core that runs through it. Since I was playing these games back to back, I was amazed at how they managed to keep the same mechanics. The longsword has new moves in the newer games, but the core combos stay the same, just like Street Fighter has managed to do for all of these years. And I guess playing through Freedom Unite, I just got an appreciation for the old style of Monster Hunter games. Now, I didn't get super far because I'm only one man and I had all of these games to play while also covering all of the other games that I've covered in the past couple of months. But I like the situation I'm in now, where Wilds is coming out, I've played World, I've played Rise. These are amazing games, they're obviously more modern, but that doesn't discount what the previous games did in the series, and I could see myself buying Monster Hunter Generations on the Switch when I'm done with Wild, and maybe I want to experience a new kind of different style of Monster Hunter. And realistically, there are very few series like that. If you jump into a newer version of whatever series, more often than not, it's going to be difficult for you to go back to the other ones. But I played World, which is obviously way more streamlined than the old games, and then I went back to play Freedom Unite, and then I went from Freedom Unite onto Rise, and now I'm still chipping away at Freedom Unite, and I can appreciate what each game does individually. Now on to World and Rise. World is obviously the game that catapulted the series forward, not only in how it plays, but in its popularity. The craziest thing about it is that Monster Hunter World is Capcom's best-selling game ever. Let that sink in. The company that made Street Fighter and Resident Evil turned this relatively niche action RPG into their best-selling game of all time. And it did wonders for the series. Just look at the official sales list on their website. World and Rise are both different modern takes on the series. World is, I guess, the main one going forward, since Wilds is clearly a direct follow-on from it, and Rise is the offshoot, a bit more arcadey, built for handheld gaming, and the thing is, they're both great. Monster Hunter World is an epic game. It feels different from all the other ones I've played. Yes, the others still have the spectacle of giant monsters parading around, but this feels and looks different. And one benefit is that I'm playing it on the PS5 now, and it runs at a native 4K locked 60 FPS, and it's stunning. The game is like a nature documentary. Monsters fight one another randomly, and the locations are so diverse. The first level has caves, sheltered areas covered in tall trees, and then water and waterfalls and rivers, and then you can climb up to the top of the trees, and that had one of my favourite fights in the game. It helps that it's a 2018 game on the PS5, so of course it should run smoothly, but Jesus Christ, this is almost perfect technically. It looks great while not taxing the system, and while we're on that subject, I am kind of worried about Wilds from that aspect. Now, I know we've only played the beta, but it doesn't run well, and the game looks awful. I'm no game dev, and I understand that Wilds is a bit more dynamic, the environments are more destructible, and the game is one big level, but I think it's a total regression. So, I had it on 120Hz mode.
But it looked bad.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, it doesn't look great in the 60 FPS mode either. This is...
Yeah.
I think this is an ugly game.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, dude, I think it's a really ugly game.
Yeah,
I'm a little mad.
Yep. And I'm not, like, I was playing Rise yesterday.
Yeah.
I was playing Monster Hunter World only, like, a couple of weeks ago, just before like, the start of the year. That game looks amazing. It's 4K 60.
Yes!
I don't know why they had to change anything here, you know?
Dude, makes me so mad, especially since, I gotta tell you, I kind of prefer the Monster Hunter Rise art style. So when I see this and it looks like garbage, I get mad.
Yeah, plus, Jake, I'm in the hub here. There's a lot of, like other players walking around, and
Yeah. You don't need that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, this is rough. Even Rise looks great, and I'm sure you're saying, well, of course it does. It was a Switch game, now running at 4K 60 on the PS5. But even on the Switch, it was beautiful. And from what I can remember, it ran smoothly too. So hopefully Wilds runs and looks a bit better than the beta. Rise and Worlds are different, and I like that you can get two fairly different experiences by playing these two games back to back. And one isn't necessarily better than the other. Some love the higher budget look of World, and others prefer the cartoony, classic Monster Hunter look of Rise. And as I said earlier, the core identity of Monster Hunter runs right through all of these games, and it's great to see. Because as series evolve, especially niche series like this, things have to change slightly. If Monster Hunter was, you know, a couple of million unit seller over the years, and now all of a sudden Rise and World are like pushing 20 plus million, something had to change. And it's similar to Elden Ring. They just made it more accessible while also keeping the core of what makes Monster Hunter Monster Hunter. And starting up Rise was a bit of a different experience. Okay, I'm also using the great sword, or the long sword, which is my weapon of choice. It's the weapon that I know how to use the most. I'm still not amazing with it, but I'm better with it than most other weapons. I love how they ramp everything up with the music in this game. The music is so good. It's unbelievable. I love it. Okay, then we should be able to hopefully get the last combo to get it to red. Yeah, okay, we got it to red. Ah, no, I didn't mean to do it. What was it was L2 and triangle, wasn't it? Yeah. Same thing here. No. Sometimes it doesn't register the way I want it to. Now. I would like to point out, I actually think, I know I died once, but I think I really sorted that out and got actually good at fighting him there. And this time they introduced the wirebug, which I love. And I'm slightly disappointed that it isn't in Wild, but you know, what can you do? There was just a clicking point with the wirebug where I felt like it belonged in the series and I could understand the combat a bit better. It made everything that bit more deliberate. I could reliably get above a monster and do an aerial combo or use it to regain my footing after I've been knocked down. And it does the same thing for me that the precision weapon system in Wilds does. It gives you that extra bit of control while fighting that I think makes everything just control that bit smoother. But what I prefer about Rise and the wirebug is that its approach to exploration is different to World. They share similar elements with their level design because they're so densely packed with shortcuts and alternate routes and all this verticality, and the wirebug only improves this level design. My first time figuring it all out was in the first level, where I found myself actually exploring it as opposed to simply looking for the monster. I realized I could scale a mountain in the middle of the map, and I found a secret codex entry, and all of this means you can get a better lay of the level, and it also lets you get the drop on unsuspected monsters. Now there is one massive problem that I encountered going from Freedom Unite to Worlds to Rise. Also, there is one thing that I noticed about this whole series is when you get into the games after the fact, you're just spoiled with so much stuff that you can't actually get the true experience. Because I load into this game, look at all this stuff I have. I loved how hardcore Freedom Unite felt. I earned every win and I had to work for every piece of gear I crafted and every potion I brewed. And going straight from Freedom Unite into the more modern games, it highlighted a big problem with the post-release experience of these newer Monster Hunter games. They want to get you to the end game as quickly as possible, and at first I didn't even realize what they were doing. I started up World and chose the longsword as it was an easy to understand weapon. I did the first couple of big hunts and breezed through them, and I was kind of disappointed. I thought to myself that this series was supposed to be pretty hardcore and I had absolutely zero challenge. Then when I uploaded the first Monster Hunter video, everybody pointed out that I was using the defender weapons, which I didn't realize were the let's power level you to the end game as quickly as possible weapons, which I found frustrating. So I swapped back to the normal weapons, and then things became a bit more challenging, but I still felt like I didn't exactly earn my way to where I was. I encountered a similar problem with Rise. This time, I knew not to choose the defender weapons, but there was arguably a bigger problem, and maybe World did this, but I'm not sure. I was going on my merry way, doing the starting missions, having a lot of fun with the new movement system and the Palamute, but then I opened my chest, and the game gave me every single resource I would ever need. Powerful potions, traps, and crafting materials. And even though I was still having a lot of fun, I realized that I just can't get into these games specifically because of that reason. I'm not saying they're bad, I still had a great time, but I want to earn everything I have in a game like Monster Hunter. Now on the positive side, this only got me more excited for Wilds because now I get to jump in on the ground floor, start from zero, learn the ropes, fight all the smaller enemies, find the low level crafting materials, and work my way up from the bottom. I definitely did fix my Monster Hunter problem, but I did encounter one little issue while trying to do this, and it is just a lack of time. Freedom Unite is a much slower game, everything just takes longer, and I wish I had more time to dedicate to the game and do a full video on it because I think there's something special there, even if it does feel quite old by today's standard. The same goes for World and Rise. I wish I could have gone all the way to the end, but I'm only one man. I don't have all the time in the world. That just makes me all the more excited for Monster Hunter Worlds. It's going to be my first Monster Hunter game that I get in from the ground floor. So all of you Monster Hunter veterans that helped me out on the first video, I really appreciate that. The Monster Hunter community are actually really nice. Leave all your suggestions. What I should do, is there anything I should look out for when I'm starting up Monster Hunter Wild? I will be streaming it on launch day, so please look forward to that, as Japanese game developers would say. Don't forget to subscribe, join the Discord down below where we talk all sorts of games and all this sort of crap. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.